LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
This episode is brought to you by Alexa Plus. Say hello to Alexa Plus and see how Alexa can do more for you. Need tickets to that last-minute show? Craving your favorite restaurant? Sit back, relax, and talk naturally. Alexa's on it. Alexa learns your preferences to create a personalized experience. And now, Alexa Plus is free with Prime on your Amazon devices, like Echo and Fire TV. Learn more at amazon.com/Alexa Plus.
Buckeye Talk is about to begin. Hey, 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 come on in.
Welcome back to Buckeye Talk. I am Stephen Means, that's Stephon Kreisnick, and that is Andrew Gillis. It's a rapid fire pod, and it's actually going to be rapid fire. Quick and dirty. We're not going to be going long today, mainly because we wanted to do this simply because we got to see football players and football coaches in person for the first time in a few months. And so we just wanted to see if you had any questions for us coming off of those. And so I tried to round up a couple, not a lot of them. And I want to start here. We can start with Julian Sayin here and have a short conversation. Well, obviously, as you're listening to this, we're getting a chance to talk with Julian Sayin after practice today. We'll talk with him and Kenyatta Jackson. So we'll get to see his perspective on some of these things. From the 3-3-0 on a scale of 1 to 10, how much better do you think Julian Sayin will be? 10 being 100% better. 1 being the exact same as last year. What number do you think is needed for the team to win a national title? I.e., like, does Sayin need to be like a 4 out of 10 or better? So let's do this. Stephon, out of 10, what would you have given Julian Sayin in 2025 based on his performance? Let's start there with this conversation. What would you have given Sayin in 2025?
I probably would have given him like an 8, 8.5 maybe. Okay. I'd probably lean toward 8.5.
Okay. Did that like rise or fall based on how the last two games went? Or did it was just that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm at like a 7.5, and I think it was probably like a 9.5 or a 10 before the Indiana and Miami games.
But okay. And I'm only asking that for a gauge of now as we get into the Texas Astro question here, like what percentage better do you think he will be in 2026, Stephon? And is that enough?
I think he'll probably be, 10% better, right? If I had him at an 85, he gets to 95, and I think that would certainly be enough. I really do think when you go back and you evaluate some of his shortcomings, especially late in the year, like it wasn't something where you're just like, oh, this kid just doesn't have it. It just felt like there were small things, right? Whether it was, maybe he could have bought some time with his legs on some plays. Maybe it was just hesitant and was either late on a throw or didn't get a throw off in time or just didn't take the shot, where there were opportunities to take the shot. But I think overall, like the foundation of what you have is good enough to have you contending for a national championship. We saw it last year. Ohio State was contending for a national championship. It's not like they were far off from that. And it felt like if you maybe got just a little bit more from Julian Sayin, you could have gotten over that hump. I think back to, even that Texas game at the start of the year where it felt like, they were kind of holding him back a bit. And that, at least that's how they talked about it because, as that game progressed, you felt like, okay, you could win a defensive kind of battle here and come out with a 14-7 win. I mean, yeah, that's fine, but there was a play early in the game where if Julian Sayin takes a shot, like it's a touch, like it's not like they were calling plays where it's like no wide receiver is going to run more than 5 yards down the field, right? Like if Julian takes that shot to Jeremiah Smith early, and I would say it's probably a touchdown. Worst case, it's a big gain. Maybe it's a poor pass and it falls incomplete, like whatever. But like it could have been a much like if he just takes one more shot, that's a potentially a 21-7 win instead of a 14-7 win. And maybe you think about that game a whole lot differently. You think about Julian Sayin a whole lot differently. So it just felt like at times he was maybe hesitant to make the big play, whether it be with his legs or with his arm taking a shot down the field. He was just hesitant at times. It could just be a matter of 2-3 plays over the course of a big game that could really flip it and have you feeling much different about him. So I don't think he's that far off. I think for me, it's really just like 10% better. Go from an 8.5 to a 9.5, and this team will be just fine in terms of having a chance to win a national championship.
Gillis?
Yeah, I gotta echo a lot of what Stefan just said. Like, the thing with Sayin is not, completion percentage or anything like that. Like, I mean, his downfield accuracy might go down this year, right? Like that's a completely real task. I know Ryan Day the other day just said, we have more depth here than we've had in a while. Okay, well, depth is cool, but you have a receiver who might go like 4th or 6th or 7th in the NFL draft, who was your second best receiver last year, right? So you might lose maybe some of that downfield accuracy, but I think kind of understanding the game, I think Ryan was, we talk a lot. Ryan doesn't really know coach speak. He doesn't really do it a lot. I think he was right when he said, understanding the game and, having a better feel for the way that things can go and break down and how to get out of certain things, because I don't think it's unreasonable to say you're going to have better depth, but you might not have that just throw it up and one of your two superhumans are down there and they'll go up and make a play. I don't know if you have that faith with, Devin McEwen or Kyle Parker or even Chris Henry Jr. right now. So I think just kind of that mental side of things is really going to help him. So I think he will get better. I think he will improve, but it is hard. Like we do got to remember, like I know I said it was like, the last 2 games were pretty significant drops for him, but he was pretty good before that, right? Like I don't think that there's this untapped level with Julian Sayin where we're looking at him going, well, last year was poop in comparison. I don't think we're going to get to that. So I'll say 10%. And I think that's enough to win a national championship.
Who did he play last year?
Who we playing, Rammer? Sweden. It's a miracle quote. Played Texas week 1, and they handcuffed him.
So a first-year starting quarterback.
And then he played Michigan on the road. I'm going to count that one as a tough
freshman
game.
Quarterback.
Yeah, but I'm going to count that one as a tough game. It was snow, and it was on the road. Defense was solid.
A freshman quarterback who scored 9 points.
Yeah, but Julian scored 27. So I don't care that the other guys.
Julian made some pretty good throws in that game.
He did.
He made some pretty good throws in every game. Okay. Did pretty good throws win you a national title? Did pretty good throws win you a Big Ten title?
They can. They didn't, but they can.
But did they?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
He made more of them against Michigan than against Miami and Indiana.
Yeah.
He did. Listen, this is not a Julian saying it's not as good as we think he is conversation at all. That's not what I'm saying here. CJ Stroud made some pretty good throws in his career too. How many Big Ten titles did he win? How many national titles did he win? We all agree that Will Howard, if we're just talking arm talent, is the worst quarterback Ryan Day's had. He's also the only one with a national title. You want to know why? Because he could run. He wasn't afraid to go make the play. Was he perfect? No. And we talked ad nauseum about all of his flaws. But at the end of the day, he got stuff done when it was time to go get it done. And I mean, listen, does the Michigan game play out differently if Will Howard doesn't get knocked in his head? I don't know. Because at the same time, the game plan was the game plan. I don't think the players lost that game any more than I think the players lost the Miami and the Indiana games. I think those were bad coaching jobs, first and foremost. But it is hard to ignore that the 2 quarterbacks, Julian Sayin, got vastly outplayed by, were also playing in the national championship game. And in every other playoff game we watched them play, we saw everything that Julian Sayin was not. I think that is fair to say. And sure, is that like a small piece of the pie? Yes, but when you're chasing the 1%, that 1% gets very large very quickly. And that's what Julian Sayin, that's what Jeremiah Smith, any player on this team we would already classify as an elite football player, they're chasing that 1%. But that 1% can be the difference between losing 13-10 to Indiana and 24-14 to Miami and holding up a national championship trophy and being 16-0. So for me, I'd say he was at 7.5. I think that 2.5 of like not being able to use his legs in a world where every single national championship quarterback of the college football playoff era has had at least 1 rushing touchdown and at least 130 rushing yards in the season. And that's including Ohio State in 2014 when they had to play 2 different quarterbacks, and Alabama in 2017 when they benched their starter. Even Tua and Cardell Jones had a rushing touchdown and at least 130 rushing yards. that year. And so that is such and as we're listening to this, Stefan's going to be asking Julian about, hey, how do you get better at that? And Ryan Day on Tuesday said, like, that's the X factor. The quarterbacks who win national championships have that X factor. So I think if he is a 9.5 out of 10, that means he added the X factor. So I would say like 20% better than where I thought he was in 2025. Because do I think he's going to be a better thrower in 2026, even if like his percentages go down? Yes, I do. Because he's a good thrower of the football, and that's what he's good at. Do I think he is going to be better from a football IQ standpoint in 2026? Yes, of course. Why? Because last year when he took the field for the opening game, he had played 27 snaps in his career. Now he has 14 starts under his belt. He played 27 snaps almost in one possession against Michigan. But his margins are so thin for like what improvement looks like, that what's the one area where you can still shine a bright light on it and go, I think you should be able to do this. And they all get there, right? We talked about in 2018 how Dwayne Haskins was like the furthest thing from a dual threat quarterback. And then the Maryland game forced him to run for 59 yards and 3 touchdowns. He eventually had to do it. Go watch that Michigan game from 2018. He's the first play of the game. He kept it and ran. And he ran it a bunch of other times in that game. CJ Stroud had negative rushing yards in 2021. And we talked. So guess what he did in 2022? The Northwestern game got here. He couldn't throw it because it was 60-mile-per-hour winds. He started running. The game that literally got him drafted number 2 overall is the game where he finally used his legs. And that's the Peach Bowl, win or lose. And granted, could he have done that more in his career? And was that all a him decision? Probably not. He probably could have ran more, but eventually he had to do it, and he did it. Kyle McCord never got there. He never really got to the point of, hey, you need to run, buddy. And then he actually ran the football. But the other 2 elite quarterbacks who are the description that Julian Sayin is of arm talent galore, when they were forced to run, they finally did it. And the schedule this year is going to play out in a way where Julian Sayin is going to be forced to run. And so he can't have negative rushing yards and 0 rushing touchdowns in 2026. And so that is, I think, and Stefan, you'll be getting the answers to how you work on that when you can't get hit in the spring. But I think that's something we're all going to be paying attention to. And that's not the most important. It's not going to be the reason some NFL team drafts him, but it could be the reason why an NFL team doesn't draft him if they feel like he's a stick back there. That's question number 1. Question number 2. It takes us back to just what we saw in practice on Tuesday. From the 604, who caught your eye the most on the defensive line? And is there a notable change in physique from any of the younger guys that might suggest a breakout, kind of like how Arvell transformed last offseason? Gillis, you spent probably the most time watching the defensive line, so I'll start with you. Did anybody just physically stand out on Tuesday?
I mean, physically.
And that can mean anything. Like physically, it can mean, man, like you were bigger than everybody else. But it could also mean, man, you were smaller than everybody else.
Yeah, so. It was Quay Rousseau because I think I looked at him and went, that guy's got some twitch. And I used this on the pod when we talked about this. I think my exact phrasing was like, whenever we talk to Larry or Matt or whoever on the defensive side, somebody's going to be like twitchy, explosive, gets off the ball fast, bouncy, bends. Like there's going to pick a word. That's how they're going to describe Quay Rousseau. Like I know it. He was the first through the chutes. He was the first around the bend when they do that drill where they put the circular kind of
hula hoop down with the towel.
Yeah, right. It's like the hula hoop down. And you got to get around the edge and bend and go hit the quarterback.
How are you about to try to describe what a hula hoop is for people?
Well, it's not a hula hoop because you don't hula hoop. A hula hoop. Well,
it is a hula hoop. It's just on the ground.
It's like a circular hula hoop for like a giant.
Yeah.
It's just a larger hula hoop.
It's like if King Kong had a hula hoop. Imagine that. So it's like you kind of like bend around the edge and, you're supposed to dip low and get your hip to the ground and blah, blah, blah. Quay was the quickest and fastest, I thought, through all of that. He is a little bit smaller than I think maybe we anticipate. He's like 6'2". I have my roster right in front of me. He is 6'2" and 240 pounds. So he's 6'2", 240. A little bit smaller than you might have thought. I was talking about this with you guys. Like Kenyatta Jackson's 6'6", 265. But I think one of the things that we noted during the course of the season last year was that he needed to improve on the run defense side of things. The pass rush element was always there with Kenyatta. The run game has really got to get better. So if the run game gets better with Kenyatta, I think you feel much more comfortable having Quay Rousseau out there. But Rousseau stood out like right away just in terms of how athletic and jumpy he was. And I am very excited to see how Ohio State can use him. But I am also a little curious. Like, I don't know if this is a 3-down guy. Like, I don't know if this is you just put him out there and lock it in. He's your guy. He might be the answer, maybe more than Christian Allegro. Maybe we just had the math wrong of the 3-3-5 type of look, right? Where he's your guy that can, maybe be a little bit more versatile and he's not so much a stand-up. That's kind of what Alabama's defense was. So he jumped out to me just in terms of what he did. Kari Wilder also just looks like a beast. I'm not saying
every single person, dude.
I named Quay Russo. I thought looked really good, and then Kari Wilder, massive guy. Like, he looked to me like somebody that if we get to Iowa or we get to, I'm trying to think who they play before Indiana, like that stretch, like late September, early October. Like, if we get to that point and we're like, hey, it's 3-0 Ohio State and Kari Wilder's out on the field, it's not going to be weird. So Kari Wilder looked like
one person.
Well, I named 2.
I'm going to edit it out. Stefan, who stood out on defensive line?
I thought Edric Houston looked pretty good. I'm looking. I just so happen to have the printout of the fall roster that we got for fall camp.
Yeah,
and he's listed at the exact same 6'3", 292. So I don't think that's true. I think he got bigger this offseason because he looked more like a defensive tackle than he did last year, and I think that's all part of it, right? Like the position changes over the course of 2 years. He'll look more ready for that position than he did, in year one as he's making the transition. So I thought Edric Houston physically looked like a guy who's more apt to be in the middle of the defensive line. Still look great, in terms of like athleticism and stuff like that. I think he's still, got a lot of great pass rush ability for someone who's playing on the interior, right? I think he's going to be able to get after the quarterback a bit more than maybe you see from a traditional kind of like than you would see from like a nose tackle. I think he gives you more of that kind of in that other defensive tackle spot. And I'll stay on the interior with the other guy that stood out, and that was Jameer Perez. I mentioned him yesterday, but he just he looks the size of a defensive tackle for someone who's that young, right? Like we made the comment, and other guys on the beat have made it as well, of just like the new freshman defensive linemen physically look the part better than some of the transfers that came in. Jameer Perez is definitely in that boat. So Edric Houston and Jameer Perez stood out to me.
What is wrong with both of you? One person. Just rule breakers, man. And with that being said, first and foremost, I noticed this morning when I was looking at the roster. You want to know how much impact the transfer portal has had on college football? When they have where the kids are from, their backgrounds, it has hometown, high school, and then last school.
Mm-hmm. I thought the part that was impressive on the roster is they put a little star next to you for every varsity letter that you have.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dudes on this roster who do not have a varsity letter.
No, they are not. I like that varsity letters are still a thing. Do people I'm gonna ask that. Do you guys wear your Letterman's jackets? Is that a thing? I don't know. Did you even know what lettering was?
I'm sure there's probably a nice jacket that's framed in a lot of these players' basements.
Yeah, because the Ohio State one's actually pretty dope. If you've ever seen it before, it's pretty dope. One player, guys. Just, can we follow rules just once here? With that being said, my players are Damari Simeon, Darius McKinley, and Jameer Perez and Emmanuel Ruffin. The freshman defensive tackles look like in 12 months we're going to be going, how do you run the ball? We're going to Ohio State. They were impressive, man. It's always interesting when a freshman comes in here and he automatically looks like I can play football for you right away. And it's not that easy, right? I don't think any of us are expecting those four to do much in 2026, though in 2027, granted, the entire defensive tackle class for 2025 is already out the building here. But I do think this is a group where, looking at where Ohio State's scheme is probably headed, all of these guys fit the bill for what you want at defensive tackle. In terms of they can do both. They can play nose and they can play three tech, which means we're going to be having questions of, hey, which two are on the field on first and second down? And then when it's third down, who's going to play the Edric Houston role from 2025? And I agree with you with Edric Houston. I know he might be the exact same weight. It's just he's wearing it better than he was a year ago. That's the thing. It's weight. The number weight is not always okay, what do you physically look like? I thought Jeremiah Smith, I know we're not talking about wide receivers, but you know who I am. I thought JJ, he's 6'3", 223. I don't think he looks as heavy as he looked last year. I thought he looked slimmer. So it's just how you're wearing the weight, which I thought was interesting to me. But those, I don't know how many. Stefan and I sit next to each other at the press conference. says, I don't know how many times, Stefan, I've said the words like, these freshmen look better than the transfers. But I thought they did physically. And that doesn't mean they're going to be better than the transfers this year, but it's just eye test. Larry Johnson knocked it out the park with the guys he went to go get from a defensive tackle standpoint. Okay, let's take a break. And then we've got a quarterback question. And then we got a video game question here on Buckeye Talk.
Hey everybody, welcome to your 30-second laughing session brought to you by The Laughing Cow. Ready to laugh? In 3, 2, 1, and... Okay! Great job, everybody! Now unpeel a wedge of The Laughing Cow light spreadable cheese, a delicious snack with 2 grams of protein and 25 calories per wedge. Feels good to have a cow, huh?
Your planet is now marked for death.
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four First Steps is now streaming on Disney+.
We will protect you.
As a family.
Light him up, Johnny!
Marvel's first family is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is fantastic.
And critics say it's one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Oh!
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four First Steps, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
What time is it, Ben? It's clobber time!
It was the fall of 2016, and girls were disappearing from Newark, New Jersey, one after another.
But there was no press conference, no scary headlines. No one suspected the truth.
He looked nice. Like, if you look at him, you don't look at him and think he's a serial killer.
This is Someone's Hunting Us, a podcast from NJ.com and the Star Ledger. It's the story of a serial killer you've never heard of, and the women who took him down.
Including the one woman who escaped.
They didn't even believe her. I feel like they let him get away.
But these women saw what he really was.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I felt as though I had to do something.
Imagine your sister or your best friend just disappeared, and the police say they can't locate her. What wouldn't you do to try to find her?
Would you catfish a serial killer? Listen to Someone's Hunting Us wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're back here on Buckeye Talk. Stephen Means, Stefan Kreisnick, and Andrew Gillis. I told you guys, rapid fire. Real quick. Just 4 questions. In and out. Real quick. Back to the quarterback room. From the 4-4-0, how much will we see Julian Sayin in the spring game? Is there a pecking order already established for the QB 2, 3, and 4 spots? And then chances we see some hurry-up drives this spring, or will it wait for Texas and beyond in the schedule? So this is why it's also rapid fire, because everybody gave 30 questions within there, and so we can break it down piece by piece. So here, let's start with the Sayin part of this. How many drives? Let's mark it down right now. How many drives do we see Julian Sayin play on April 18th in the spring game? Andrew, you first.
I'm going with 3. I don't think it's going to be much.
Oh, okay. Then this is fun. I get to split the difference. I'm saying 1 more than Jeremiah Smith, so I put him at 4. Because you got to give the people what they came for, especially since they're raising the price of the spring game. It used to be $5, and now they got all these different tiers and whatnot. So you got to give the people what they're wanting. What you got to get people want, man? People want to see Julian Sayin throw a 40-yarder to Jeremiah Smith.
He's also not going to get hit, so you don't really have to worry about him getting hurt. And like you have 2 teams, so you're going to have Julian, you're going to have Tavian.
No, they don't do it like that. It's just going to be offense versus defense.
I guess, but like if you rotate series with Tavian is what I'm saying. Like if it's Julian then Tavian,
no,
I think you're good with that. I don't think you're necessarily looking going like if Luke Fahey doesn't get reps or if Justin Martin doesn't get reps, we're in trouble.
Oh no, I think Luke Fahey's going to get the most reps of anybody in the spring game.
Maybe, but it's not like a necessity. So
I mean, when else is he going to get a chance to throw the ball in Ohio Stadium this year? He's not going to do it.
2027 spring game.
That's not the way Ryan. That's not the way Ryan Day operates, and you know it. I don't know why you even threw that out there. Yeah, give him 4 drives. Give him what the people what they want. They'll probably go thud tackling while they're returning starters out there, and then the moment Jeremiah and Julian and like Edric and those guys are done, you'll probably see it turn into a more tackle game. Like we've all been down this road before. We know how this works. Second part, do we think there is already a clear pecking order based off 1 hour of practice?
Sorry, I'm laughing at the 4 drives for a spring game, and that's basically simulating a real regular season game for Julian Sayin. 4 drives?
I know.
That's what they were doing last year.
Well, because I think what they'll do, listen, if this spring game goes the way that literally every spring game has gone here for the last 3 or 4 years, the first half will be like regular football, and then you're going to blink and the second half is over.
So every Ohio State football game last year.
What if he's been preparing us using the spring game, telling us how they were going to play?
That's what I'm saying 4 drives for Julian Sayin is like, this is also how many drives you're going to have against Texas.
Because both Texas and Ohio State are going to have 35-minute long drives. So that's
Correct.
fair. Right. Pecking order. Do we think it's already very obvious what it is?
I think so. I think what we projected with Julian, Tavian, Justin Martin, Luke Fahey, I think is what it is. I think they're giving Justin Martin an opportunity to make some noise and maybe be the number 2. I think he's getting a decent amount of reps from what we saw in that hour. And I think when they get outside and maybe spread it out a bit across the fields and there are more reps, I think Justin Martin will have opportunities. But I think the 1 through 4 that everyone's kind of been projecting is what it was and what it will be.
Do you see any change at any point, Gillis, to what it seems like the pecking order is right now? St. Clair, Martin, Fahey.
I don't think so. I think this is just. I think it's what it's going to be September 5th. I think it's what's going to be December/January, whatever, when Ohio State plays its last game. I think it's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4 the rest of the way. I mean, barring somebody leaving, but
I mean, nobody could leave. That's the thing.
I mean, you get
stuck now.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you're here now.
You're forced to get your varsity letter.
Yeah. Oh, no. You get that asterisk by your name. I do think it's in the Fahey Martin thing will be intriguing because it's like worst case scenario, your first 2 quarterbacks are unavailable. Does it ever turn into a situation where we're like, okay, it's Justin Martin if it happens right there in that game, but if they have a week to prepare, it's Luke Fahey? I don't know. But it's so back of everybody's mind right now that I don't know if it's even worth having a discussion here. And then what do we actually think we'll see from Ohio State? Because we're going to get today, as people are listening to this, we're watching practice. There's some other opportunities I'm expecting that we'll get, right? The Student Appreciation Day practice will be in there for like the whole 3.5 hours of practice. Do we think we're going to get any level of idea of how this offense might? I know that the question was like about hurry up because they played so slow. But do you think we're going to get any idea of what this offense is going to be from a schematic standpoint by the end of the spring, Stefan?
I think in terms of like personnel packages and different things that they maybe try to do with, the wide receivers that they have, just because a lot of them can kind of fill different spots, I think. And I think Legend Bay is an interesting part of this conversation as well. So in terms of personnel, I think yes. I mean, I think I kind of walked away from the first practice being like, they're gonna use some tight end packages still, right? So I think that's still something.
We saw one red zone drill. It was like, yep. I see 2 tight ends out there.
Was that a throw to Hunter Welsing? Was that a touchdown to Mason Williams? Takes notes immediately. But in terms of pace of play, I don't know how much we'll be able to take away from the spring. Because I think there's going to be times where we see them, rep some hurry up, and then times where they just kind of go about business the usual way. So personnel packages, I think we can learn some things. Pace of play, I'm not sure we're going to be able to learn a whole ton.
Do you think, Gillis, that we should learn that? Like, should Ryan Day make that abundantly clear? They're like, yeah, we're going to play faster in 2026.
I mean, he can say it. I don't know if we'll believe it.
No, not that he said it, but like we saw things and through 15
but
practices
here's the thing,
that were like living.
But I guess but even if he showed it, would you believe it? Because all last year, all they told us for months was, "Oh, don't you worry. When we're gonna crank it up to 11 when we have to," and they never did. So, would you believe it if you saw it? I know seeing is believing, but
I would believe it because it's spring. I think, to your point, that is a fair point. He said it last year and they never did it, but they also never gave us a reason to believe they were going to do it. We just gave them benefit of the doubt, and the reason we gave them benefit of the doubt is because they played that slow the year before. And then they lost to Michigan, had a heart-to-heart meeting, and then all of a sudden came out guns a-blazing against Tennessee and never really looked back after that. The only game where they kind of had to slow things down was because they were getting a bunch of penalties that were like interrupting their flow of their offense against Texas. So last year where there was an element of, we've all seen this movie before, it's okay, they'll get against better teams and play faster. The problem is, they didn't play any better teams for 12 weeks because the schedule kind of blew up in their face. So they never had to prove Ryan Day's words to be correct. And then by the time it was actually time to do so, it was too late to try to do it. But if I see things this spring that suggest to me that from the get-go, they're going to do it, then I think I'll be more like, if they're doing things in the spring where it feels like this seems very similar to 12 months ago, what they were doing in the spring, then I'm going to go, okay, they're going to average like 62 plays a game and we're going to be hearing conversation about how they found a way to like purposefully play a whole game's worth of snaps less than the rest of the country, versus I am seeing things both in personnel and also some of the things we're just seeing them do and how they're approaching practice where, okay, they're going to come out on September 12th with a veteran quarterback on the road and like play offensively, really push the pedal a little bit. And that doesn't mean you have to turn into Mike Leach, but maybe the playoff version we saw in 2024 is something we see all of 2026, partially because more veteran team. Maybe the defense isn't as historic as it is last year, and also the schedule's a little bit more difficult. So you can't lull every opponent to sleep while you're out there, tinkering with stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see more of it. I think we'll see more of it, one, because Ohio State, the year ended the way that it did. And I think you probably wish, and I'm sure they probably wish, you're down 14-0 to Miami all of a sudden. Was it 10 or 14? I think it was 14. When the pick six happened.
It was 7-0 when
it was 4. Okay, so it was 14. So you're down 14. That game feels like a year ago. You're down 14-0, and I'm sure somebody probably thought to themselves, would have been kind of nice if we had been put in this situation before. It's like, there's a reason why on Bar Rescue they do a stress test before they actually open the restaurant. And it's not because they just want to do it. You want to see how things flow. And I think they'll do that. I think they also probably realize, even if the defense is good, it's going to be nearly impossible to replicate what you had last year, where, you got maybe the 3 best defensive players in the draft, 3 of the top 5, 3 of the top 4, whatever you want to say. Like they had that level of defense. They had a title team that had what's going to be 11 starters get drafted. You just start to wonder, is it almost going to be by necessity? And they know that. So I think we'll see more of it, more of that speed stuff. The personnel groupings, frankly, I don't know how much we're going to learn, because there's this big hulking freshman who might be a starting receiver, but he also just had his first ever practice at Ohio State. And I understand Jeremiah Smith had his black stripe removed in about 3 seconds, but you can't hold Jeremiah Smith's standard to everybody else, even if they are a 5-star receiver. So maybe he's part of this mix that just, it takes him most of the spring, if not all of the spring, to kind of get his feet under him. Maybe Legend Bay is a factor in this offense in September, and we just don't see it until then. So I think we're going to see some speeding up process, but the personnel packages, we might have to wait till.
I feel like I'm almost coming around on the pace of play stuff. We might be able to learn more from hearing than from seeing, because I'm kind of curious to ask Ryan Day, when you reflect on the offense last year, do you think the pace of play was a problem? Because there is a chance that he says the problems with the offense were due to lack of execution, and then, whatever the situation was with Brian Hartline down the stretch there. But if he looks back at the Miami game and he's like, if JJ delivers a good block, or if Julian makes a better throw here, or if this happens, we win that game. The pace wasn't the problem as much as it was execution. And if he tells you that, then there's no reason to believe that the pace of play is going to change. And if he says we probably should have played faster, okay, then that's a different thing. But if he doesn't think that pace of play was a reason why they lost to Miami or Indiana, and he would probably have a pretty good argument to say that. Would I agree with it? Probably not. But I don't know. You're moving the ball against Indiana, not able to convert on 3rd and short, 4th and short. Against Miami, you have Julian Sayin miss guys that were seemingly open, and also have a play that just kind of blows up in your face. And that same play happened for Fernando Mendoza in the Big Ten championship game, but the players collided, and when Davison got the pick, he fell to the ground. Or Lorenzo, whoever it was that got the pick, fell to the ground. Keontae Scott kind of just timed it a little better and took it to the house. So I think that they should have played faster. There's part of me that wonders that if Ryan Day was asked, was pace of play a problem? What if he says no?
Underrated part of this. Ryan Day was talking on Tuesday this team is deeper than last year's team. So I'm just looking for context clues here. They had an elite defense last year that made them feel like they didn't have to do more than they needed to do to win the game. They also didn't really get into their depth on either side of the ball. And so you can't afford to. You got an elite defense. Do you really want them playing more than 55 snaps a game? Do you really want tired Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese? Or do you maximize your starters and limit possessions in a game? If this year, if at wide receiver you don't feel like you have 2 and a bunch of question marks, instead it feels like they have 4 or 5. If at running back, you feel like you got 2, maybe 3. If we'll see what tight end. If on the offensive line, you think you got like 8 guys you think can play for you when everybody's fully healthy. If on the defensive line, you feel like you've got like 4 or 5 guys on the edge and then another 4 or 5 guys on the interior. If at linebacker, you feel like you've got 3 in a possible. If at cornerback, between Devin Sanchez and Jermaine Matthews and Cam Calhoun and Dominic Kelly, you feel like you've got some options. If at safety, you feel like you've got 3, 4, 5 options. You can play a little bit faster because you can rotate guys. And that's how you keep guys fresh. So that was interesting to me that he said that about a lot of different positions and how deep they were. And like he said he was worried about running back. Yeah. Hey, Ryan, your worries about running back, they're already here. They're just not practicing in the spring. Like if you ask him after the first day of fall camp, is he going to be like, yeah, I'm worried about running back? Or is he going to be like, yo, Bo's there and Isaiah's there. We're good. But right now, it's Legend Bay, Turbo Rogers, and Favor Key, and Jacoby Jackson. So that's 2 true freshmen, a redshirt freshman who didn't play last year, and then Jacoby Jackson, who's like been hurt and not playing a lot of football.
And Samuel Jackson. The running back. I think, is it Samuel Jackson Jr.? I just remember that there was another Jackson on the field, and I was like, they have 3 Jacksons in
Stanley
the
Jackson. Yeah, Stanley Jackson.
There you
go. Yeah. So that's just like, as a head coach, when you see that, you're like, it's not a great room right now. Okay, Ryan, it'll be okay. Those 2 will be, I don't know, like Bo and Isaiah were out there. Did they look like you're going to be worried about whether or not they're going to be ready to go in fall? Probably not.
They just couldn't really do up downs, and that's all right. When you have a shoulder surgery, up downs are limited.
You said Samuel Jackson. I'm just like laughing.
I realize.
I'm sick of all these up downs on this spring practice plane. I'm just like thinking of how I can use that quote for running back.
Carlos Loughlin had his running backs doing up downs on the first day of spring.
Good for him.
Mind you, none of the healthy running backs had ever gone through a spring practice at Ohio State, so of course they didn't know what they were.
Good.
I love Carlos Loughlin, man. It's just never changed, Carlos. Never changed. Okay. Yeah, that's like the greatest visual ever. I just look over them like, they're doing up downs. What's happening right now?
And they're all named Jackson.
And everybody's named Jackson. There are 3 Jacksons in that room. It's hilarious. From the 843, hypothetical NCAA 26 video game question. If you were coming out of high school and could play football at Ohio State, what position would you want to play and what number would you choose to wear? I like this. This is fun. It gets into our personality, but also the way Day was talking yesterday, it kind of gets a little primal when people are trying to get jersey numbers at Ohio State. Yeah. It's like a thing, which that's not shocking. If you've ever played sport, we all get territorial about things, but it's like he's talking about how dudes were putting in for numbers in advance. So that means that Kenyatta Jackson was here as a freshman and wanted number 2, and then they went and got Caleb Downs. And so now all of a sudden he's going to keep wearing 97 for another 2 years here. Stefan, I'll start with you. You are a 5-star recruit, and you're headed to Ohio State. What position are you playing, and what number are you wearing?
I would choose linebacker because of our conversations this offseason about James Laurinaitis kind of starting to follow Brian Hartline mold. And I think James Laurinaitis is going to start pretty consistently producing first-round picks at linebacker. And I am intrigued now that Matt Patricia is a defensive coordinator about the different ways that they use their linebackers. And then you can get after the quarterback and all this and that. It just, weren't there times last year where you're watching Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese and you're like, they look like they're having fun playing football because they're kind of just like all over the place wrecking the game. Like that looks like a fun sport to play. Caleb Downs probably had a little bit of that to him, but that's probably more so about Caleb Downs than it is necessarily safety. So I would say linebacker. I would want to be in James Laurinaitis' lineage of producing first-round linebackers. Then screw it. I'll wear number 8. I'll take it after Sincere gets it either next year or in a couple years.
33 was right. I love how 8 is. James, why can't you make your own number be like the cool number everybody wants to wear in the room? Okay, so 5-star linebacker Stefan Krajisnik, which means you have to wear number 20 as a freshman. You know that, right?
That's okay.
Yeah, because that's like the lineage now is like Sonny was number 20, Arvell was number 20, Riley was number 20 before they get their real number, and now Sincere is number 20. So that's...
I'll be the second Balkan linebacker Matt Patricia's coached after Rob Ninkovich. So he has experience doing that too. My name wouldn't be too too off for Bad Patricia's linebacker room.
When it's time to close, when you start asking for more money on signing day, he's going to be the reason why you don't flip. Gillis, number, position, and why?
I'm kind of with Stefan on linebacker because hear me out. I'm going to tell a brief story. So Jimmy Watkins, our columnist at cleveland.com, spent Texas week in Columbus, went to availability, just kind of hanging around Columbus that week. And he was staying at my apartment, and we decided that it would be fun to create like a road to glory guy. And we picked a quarterback, and we're like, let's build him up from like a 1-star. Do you know how hard it is to play road to glory when you're not actually playing and you have to simulate the games and you just like go through a year like doing practice drills, trying to get coach trust? It sucks. So I'm trying to play right away. I'm not trying to do this receiver thing or I'm not waiting. I'm trying to play right away. So you just lost some linebackers. I think linebacker would be good. I am taking linebacker, and I am going to wear number 55. And I am just neck roll or the neck pad. Like I'm looking like Andy Katzenmoyer. That's my goal. Like I want the sick visor, the big shoulder pads, the big face mask, the big neck roll, tape all up and down the arms and legs. Like I'm loading that thing up, and we're looking ridiculous, but we're gonna look sick. And we're going back to this age. We're wearing knee pads at linebacker at number 55. Yeah, we're taking it old school. Which, by the way, I saw some photos of some players, and we were looking around. I saw a few that like I didn't keep an eye on yesterday. Ridiculous that people can just wear biker shorts now, and that's football. So I'm wearing knee pads, wearing number 55, huge neck roll, huge neck pad, big visor, big face mask, big everything, and we're sideline to sideline out to hurt people.
We're like 2 minutes away from 5-star recruit Gillis also asking if Ryan Day can make the Pac-12 the old Pac-12 while he's at it.
And
Gillis and Spencer Holbrook are two of the oldest people in their 20s I've ever met.
Listen, go look at a photo of Andy Katzenmoyer and say that dude doesn't rock.
Yeah, but so does our
big cat. Go watch a highlight reel and be like, you know what? I'd rather wear number 4 because it's a faster number. And look at the small shoulder pads he's wearing. No. Give me the old school 80s, 90s linebacker. I want to look like Brian Bosworth.
Give me the look I wasn't even alive to watch live.
I can say that something is cool. I wasn't alive when movies in the 80s were made.
No,
but
I know. Like, you're like those kids who are like 19 now who are like, who's the best player of all time? We're like, well, Julius Erving. It's like, dude, no, you didn't watch Julius Erving play basketball. Stop it.
Did you just settle the MJ LeBron debate for anybody younger than
I think
25 on this podcast?
I think it's all fun, all good, like waving the flag for your era that you watched. Like a 16-year-old's relationship to Michael Jordan is Space Jam, and even then, LeBron James has his own Space Jam movie.
I can't wait until Steven tells his kids about Bam's 80.
What?
Okay.
That's different.
In this house, we don't mention Wilt Chamberlain.
I see. It's different now.
Yeah, it's hypocritical. Unless you're, it's different. If you're a fan of the team, you can make up whatever story you want later on in your life.
Correct.
That's like how our parents would go back in my day. We used to walk up the hill both ways in the snow to go to school. That's tradition. What I watched with Bam Adebayo on Tuesday night was beautiful. It was
back in my day. It was your fingerprint that opened your phone, not your face.
Yeah, why are you using your face? It's insane. Shout out to Bam. That was magical. That was magical to watch. And anybody hating because he shot a bunch of free throws, slide your feet.
How much of it did you watch?
After I saw the first quarter.
He had like 30 in the first quarter, right?
Yeah, and I was like, all right, let me check in just in case this gets a little out of control. And I was like, this is the last 6 minutes were crazy, but also there are people who are a lot older than me who have been online saying, listen, if you saw the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game, it was very much like
nobody saw it. Just pointed out. It's not out there. You can't see it.
Colin Coward was like banging
I'm with you, Gillis. Why is there no video evidence? Wilt Chamberlain.
You could go watch Babe Ruth batting practice from 1929, and you can't see a Wilt Chamberlain 100 point. No. I'm just saying.
Gillis is talking about language now. Why is there no video evidence? It's just a picture of him holding up 100. It could have been somebody's birthday for all we know.
Can we just hold up a photo and say 10 million and we got 10 million views on one episode of Buckeye Talk? Is that the way that this works?
Yeah, I'm with you there. We got video evidence of everything else under the sun except for that. I'm with you. Okay, so here's mine. I'm going to be a quarterback. Are you guys crazy? What? how much quarterbacks are making these days? Even if I never play a snap here, I'm a 5-star quarterback who spent X amount of years learning how. Lincoln Keenholz is probably going to start at an ACC program this year, and he has never played. I mean, he's never been a starting quarterback. Because you want to know why? Because he's a decently rated quarterback out of high school who spent 3 years learning how to play quarterback at Ohio State. Switch quarterback. Why wouldn't it be? And it's actually lining up perfectly. I'm with you, Gillis. When you're playing the video game, it's annoying because there's just not enough to do in the game during that year.
Practice and studying is literally all there is to
Which
do.
is like, I mean, that's what happens in real life. But it's the immersion of the video game is not yet to the point where you can. Because you remember when we were kids and they had the games where you had the actual week of things. It just felt like it was a more busy game. To where if you're not playing, you can still be immersed in what the game is. I don't know if the game is there. So you're right. If you want to redshirt your freshman year as a quarterback and sit behind a guy and then take over, it can get boring very, very quickly. I'm with you. But since this is real life, I can spend the year learning behind Julian. And then next spring, Tavia and I can battle it out for the job. 5-star versus 5-star. May the best 5-star win.
What's your number?
My number 2.
Okay. I'm partial to 7 for quarterbacks.
That's because you want to know why?
Because Mike Vick?
Yeah, your era. Something you saw.
I was like 13. Maybe Dan Marino.
Again.
And apparently I'm not allowed to say Dan Marino was good.
There's nothing wrong with saying it, but listen, there's nothing wrong with you admiring players from older eras. It's when it's like, that era was so much better. How do you know? You weren't even
never
there.
said it was better. I said Andy Katzenmoyer looked like a badass.
You weren't even there.
The era was better because we got to vote on who the national champion was.
Yeah. Instead of deciding it on the field like real men, we let people like us choose a button. It's insane. Not the Andy Katzenmoyer, though. He was an awesome football player. But you know who else looks pretty? You know who's got some badass photos in Getty right now? Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. Same, man. Shout out to Getty. That's all I got, though. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. I would also think about wide receiver, like playing slot, just because you're going to get the ball a lot. If I wanted to play right away. Like, if I don't know. If
Brian Hartline was still here, would you have picked wide receiver?
614. Actually, I don't know if my answer changes. Seriously. I have that much faith in what Cortez Hankton is doing here in a different era where it's not just going to be recruiting because that's just not how the sport works anymore, that I don't know if it's changing my answer. I might still pick quarterback simply because it's quarterback. I'm
just wondering, like, if Brian Hartline was on a path where it's like, you will be a first-round pick.
Yes, I also think the room we have now would have had to exist regardless.
Probably. Yeah.
I'm coming around on the idea that Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham would have left regardless of who the wide receiver coach was. I'm seeing, like, in the Notre Dame space, some like early projections of depth charts. Like, Mylan Graham's not even projected to be a starter over there right now. So it's like,
they're more on Quincy Porter than they are on Graham.
So you're right. There's an element there.
We were too by the end of the year, but
right. So, but it's like, I don't know. Decory Moore didn't come here, and listen, like, I've had people tell me, like, if we lived in a pre-NIL era, would he been a Buckeye? Like, and they've said yes, but at the same time, we don't live in a pre-NIL era. Like, it's not just. I think that time of what Marvin and Emeka did, choosing to come here and sit, what Carnell did, choosing to come here and sit for a year and then be essentially not even like the sidekick, but like the third wheel for a year before being able to be the guy. I think that's done. I think we're done seeing that. I think we've reached an era now where in recruiting, it's like you go get one dude, you go get one kind of a dude who might end up turning into something late in the cycle. And then you go get 2 development guys who you develop. And like this 2026 class is that. Chris Henry Jr. was like the star of it. Jaquaden Guilford has turned into an intriguing piece. And then like you're hearing good things about Brock Boyd, while Jaden Ricketts is like a developmental guy. I think this is where we're at now. So I think my answer would still be quarterback because it's weird, but it's also cleaner, if that makes sense. Because somebody's going to take the dude who spent 2 years developing at Ohio State to be their starting quarterback. So, yeah. Good answers, though. Good stuff. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. As you're listening to this again, we're back in the Woody watching day 2 of practice, and we're talking with Julian Sayin and Kenyatta Jackson. We'll be bringing all that information to you to the text before anywhere else. In the meantime, for Stefan Kreisnick and Andrew Gillis, I'm Stephen Means. Talk to you guys later.